Good morning, everybody. Here we are in the Evergreen. So over the last couple weeks, I've posted some videos for you about my adventures in Death Valley, and you've had some questions, so I'd like to answer them today. I actually have a new little camera that I'm working with, so we'll just sort of see what this is like. And I'm going to put my glasses on so I can actually see. So here we go. All right, so this is actually from Allie and Sky's class. And I'm going to be reading an email that I got from them, sort of asking these questions. So the first question was how were the mud flats formed? So I did that little video on the racetrack. Where all the rocks move across the mud flats because of all the strong winds. Well, the mud flats were formed, that's a tongue twister, because of what's called range and basin. So range being mountain and basin being sort of a low-lying area where water collects. And even though Death Valley doesn't see that much water throughout the year, when it does rain, because of all that mud and all of that clay, it retains those basins, those low areas, it retains water. So the mud flats are basically formed naturally because of those high points, those mountains, and those low points, and then just all the collection of minerals and mud and water and that sort of thing. All right, let's see. Let's move on. Where is it? Where is the racetrack? The racetrack is in what's called Death Valley National Park. And it's in a fairly remote area. Let's see if I can remember correctly, it is in the north, I believe, western part of the park. And there are a couple different ways to get there. One way you can use a two-wheel drive vehicle. The other way that we actually came up was a really gnarly old mining trail. So let's move on. Let's see. Is there snow? Yes, there was definitely some snow. We had a pretty gnarly little snowstorm come through, so we definitely got some snow. Let's see. Pretty cool video. Why was it so cold? Well, it was so cold because we were high in elevation. We were roughly around 4,000 feet, and Death Valley at the lowest point, I believe, is a couple hundred feet below elevation. So once again, that range and basin, high mountains, low areas. And then you get the Sierras, the mountains over in California. So all of the weather comes off those mountains and then sort of sinks down into parts of Death Valley. That's why it's so cold. Let's see. Somebody said they liked the dead spider. That's cool. Okay, now we have a question about the bird. So I did make a video about the bird. How did the bird die? And let's just think back for a second. That was the video on decomposition. I don't actually know how the bird died. My guess is that it died of either natural causes, or maybe it was attacked by one of the hawks that we have flying around the area. All right, let's actually move on to some more questions that you guys have for me. Okay, so these questions are in regards to the mine, the Lost Burrow mine, and the adit, which is the opening to the mine. It's also, you can also call it a portal, which I think is a really cool word. And then the miner's cabin. So yes, I did go to Death Valley. It's one of my favorite national parks. It's a really cool spot. Definitely not in the summertime because it's very super hot. Let's see. Adits are cool. Yes. How far did it go in? Well, if you guys remember, I went in maybe about 10 or 15 feet, and to my right was a dead end, or what's called the face. And then to my left, that sort of black area that I filmed, I have no idea. And I tried to do some research on either how old the mine was or how deep the mine was. And I didn't really get a lot of information on how far it went in or how deep. I did see that there were several adits, meaning the opening to the mine, and that it was mined for gold. So that's pretty cool. Let's see, how far did it go in? Why is it dangerous to go into mines? Well, it's dangerous to go into mines because basically what you're doing is you're hollowing out a part of the earth. And whether you're hollowing out or digging out or mining out copper, gold, other semi-precious minerals, elements, things like that, you're removing the rock. And so it makes an area that is susceptible to rockfall. So basically what they call the back, which would be the ceiling for us, can collapse, or the ribs, which are the side of the mine walls, those can fall in. So they'll use those big posts or big beams to hold everything up. And then what do we know about wood? It rots. And so when you go into a mine, you can have, or you can see a lot of rock fall, or you can just be trapped in there. So that's why it's dangerous to go into mines. Plus, there's lots of gases and bears, or who knows what's in there. Another question on how long does the mine go? I'm going to assume it's pretty big. They were searching for gold, so whoever was there doing that digging probably was there digging for a while. Let's see. How old is the mine? I believe the mine was originally found in the late 1800s. That whole area, the whole district, is called the Ube-Hebe Mining District, which I think is pretty cool. And I think it was found by some prospectors in like 1886 or 1887. And then it was actually started, or the mining started, I think it was 906. There is a silly story about a guy who lost his burros there in that sort of interesting canyon area. And when he went looking, he found a rock, or he kicked over a rock and he picked it up and he was like, "Oh, there's gold!" So who knows? But it was mined at two different stages. I think from I put it in the beginning of the video. Let's see if I can recall. 1906 to I think 1917, and then like 1920 to 1930. But I believe it was they stopped mining in 1930 because it's just not cost effective. It's out in the middle of nowhere. There's no water. There's no wood to use to reinforce the back or the ribs of the mine. So it was the sort of thing where it was just, even though it was gold, sorry, excuse me, my leg's falling asleep, they didn't really feel like it was worth continuing on. Let's see, what did it smell like? I love this question. Who asked this question? Caroline Moore, thank you. I often associate places with smell, and I really appreciate smell. Smell can tell you a lot. So what did it smell like? It smelled like earth. It was a kind of a dry smell, smelled, kind of like dirt. But the deeper I went into the mine, it had kind of a musky, not damp, but just smelled like rocks or mud or earth. And then the miner's cabin actually had a very distinct smell as well. It smelled like kind of old rotten wood, and then urine and feces from mice and rats. So that's not a very pleasant smell. Let's see. Where was the mine? So the mine is located in Death Valley in that Ube-Hebe mining district, also sort of in the northwestern part of the park, out in the middle of nowhere. It just was one of those things where we turned down a road and it was like, oh, this looks cool. Were there bats in there? No, I did not see any bats, but it would be a perfect home for bats and other critters. There might have been bats further into the mine, but like I said in the video, I was not willing to go in and risk my health or my life, even though I really like mines and I like to explore mines. Can you take stuff from the mines? Well, no, technically you can't. So because Death Valley is a national park, lots of things, whether they're historic or modern or prehistoric, they fall under what's called the Antiquities Act. Definitely prehistoric things. So you can't remove them, because when you remove something from a particular location, even if it, let's say, an old bottle or something like that, what you're doing is you're taking part of history away. You're actually removing that part of history. So if somebody wants to study that area, whether it's an old ruin, like an old, let's say, Hohokam ruin down here in Tucson, or it's an old miner's cabin out in Death Valley, if you remove those artifacts, then scientists or archaeologists can't come and say, oh, look, this bottle dates from 1888 when purple glass was first being used to house, I don't know, milk of magnesia or whatever. So no, don't remove things from mines or those locations, just so that if you want to go and check them out, you can. Let's see. Bats in the cave, we already talked about that. What can you find there? As in regards to the mine or the miner's cabin? Everything. You name it. There were old toothbrushes, there were bottles, there were things I couldn't identify, nail heads, anything that involves construction or living, bed frames, bed springs, water bottles, old crazy like glass bottles, you name it. If you can think of it, it was probably there, and tons. It looks basically like a junkyard. Is it illegal to enter mines? I don't believe that it is illegal, but it is dangerous, like I said before. So in some areas in Death Valley, or anywhere actually, here in Arizona for that matter, whatever agency runs that particular land, whether it's the Park Service, the Forest Service, BLM, blah, 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 they will close off the mines if they have a really deep shaft or it's really super dangerous. So in that sense, yes, if it is closed off, it is illegal to break the walls down, or a lot of time there's big bars that sort of are up against the adit, and so you can't get in. So yes, if you were found back there, you probably would be arrested, but who's going to be out there looking for you? There were a bunch of nails sticking up. Yes, so tons and tons of nails everywhere, especially when they were reinforcing the walls, the back or the ribs of the adit, or making ore chutes. I'm sure you guys remembered in the video where I went into the mine itself, the adit. Behind me was a huge processing plant where they actually would take the gold, and then I'm sure they did some sort of smelting or something like that. Oh, I love, Juniper, you actually used the word relics. Thank you. They are relics, aren't they? Let's see. Oh, so someone also asked, whose cabin was it? Well, I found some conflicting information in regards to who was originally living there, but more than likely that was the miner's cabin itself was probably the main office of the guy who ran the mine. I don't know what he would be called. Foreman? I don't know. The main miner guy. And so I'm sure that there were bunkhouses or other places where the miners lived, because it literally was out in the middle of nowhere. So who owned it? I'm not quite sure. I could probably do a little bit more research, but for now, let's just say miners. All right, guys. Well, I think that's it as far as answering your questions. Feel free to ask more as I put out more videos. It's actually kind of fun to make this connection with you guys. I really miss you. I hope to see you soon. I hope everyone's staying happy and healthy. And don't forget to get out. It's coming on spring and it's really beautiful. So take those 2 little feet and get out into the mountains. All right, guys. Bye.